Let's ask Claude some stuff. Should AI generated art be allowed to win competitions against human artists? Oof, that's a tough one. I'm going to say no, but unless you are competing like in an event where you're in the building all together, no streaming or anything, it's going to be hard to figure out if it wasn't made by AI or impossible. I mean, it wouldn't matter. Like as an artist or as a lover of art, I would say I don't care where the art comes from as long as it's good and, it makes you feel something. But if I'm going to purchase some art, it's going to be from a person. It's going to be from a physical artist. Just because, I mean, it's already kind of a novelty to purchase art since you can replicate it in extreme detail or even enhance it and print it out and frame it. But yeah, is AI making us smarter or more dependent? Definitely more dependent. People are going to be asking AI everything, and critical thinking will go down. General knowledge might go up, I would say, because you're just absorbing all this data. You just don't know what to do with that data as well. Will AI eventually make traditional education obsolete? Yes. There will be AI modeled to your specific learning um, rate as well as your learning style. And I believe there are 12 main styles, all related to the zodiac. So if you can, there will be like a Gemini model that can teach Gemini the best and most effective, efficient way. There will be a Sagittarius model that will teach Sagittarius the most efficient and effective way. There could be more, but I think it'll be a multiple of 12 or 6. Content creation and media. Are podcasts replacing traditional therapy for younger generations? That's funny. I would say yes. Podcasts are a form of therapy. People share their situation, scenarios, and past historical events. And, just like why they tell you that elderly people um, have good stories or stories you should listen to. I think that's part of that is because it teaches you, even if you're unwilling to learn. Just hearing somebody, their perspective, and I think again it goes back to what sign they are and how effective that information is translated to you. Um, so I do think um, podcasts do replace, uh, I guess, therapy in a way, and I think ultimately where you know this will all lead, the zero sum scenario, is AI is going to do all of the logical things in life and including all automation. Although automation, physical automation is going to be towards the end, I would think, like physical manual labor, and all humans are going to be left to do are essentially become theologians. Wait, no, that's not the right word. Some of them might become theologians actually. They're going to become um, philosophers, and everybody's gonna be a type of like social media personality. Everyone's gonna be pushed onto because humans don't want AI automated anything in terms of what media they consume. People want people, and real people are very complex and very funny because of the complexity. If I gave Claude a human body, hyper realistic, he would be okay, but he would probably be boring. And I think a lot of the comedy is lost on AI. You might be able to teach it, but I think that's going to be one of the very last things AI kind of does well. So yeah, should content creators be held to the same standards as journalists? No, because it's freedom of speech, and journalists aren't held to that good of standards either. Anyways, I guess the most objective news you can get is just silent news. Just this is what's happening. This is raw video. Nobody is talking, because the second a human opines, then subjectivity creeps in. Is authenticity in online content just another marketing strategy? There's no such thing as authenticity. I think authenticity came about because people were the first to do things, but that won't exist anymore. Doesn't exist anymore. Just like there's only so many chords you can play in music, or words you can, there's only so many arrangement of words you can put in rap. It's all going to be about who can build a brand, a viral brand quick enough and strong enough with enough momentum and carry it out. So authenticity is a false, non-existent thing. I guess if you want to define authenticity as you being consistent with your brand, sure, but you're not necessarily authentic. There's been people like you that thought like you, that like the exact same aesthetic, everything as you. They just didn't have a platform. And eventually they will, especially with AI. Design and creativity. Does good design need to be accessible to everyone, or can it be elitist? Does good design need to be accessible to everyone, or can it be? Well, yeah. I mean, it is going to be available to everyone, because AI makes good-looking things so long as you steer it in that direction. I mean, it's a democratization of talent, because you're no longer bound by limitations in technology or capital to make it. Back in the day, you might have had an okay movie creator or director, but he was the only one with the camera equipment in the 1930s, 40s. So, and the only one with the connections and financial capital to be able to realize his vision. Now with AI, you will be able to have a one-man show and have it be, hyper good production quality. You'll have, Pixar quality animation and storytelling with some kid that's 8 years old, potentially. I mean, it might be harder for him to find or have the world experience to be able to give a riveting story, but every dog has its day. So yeah, it can be elitist. It can be elitist if we suppress it. It could be elitist if the pricing becomes large enough to exclude, certain people. It kind of already does in a way, but I would say in a good way. We are preventing China from having chips or advanced semiconductor chips, anything, I believe, 3 nanometer and below, or 5 nanometer and below, which is good and bad. I think it's good overall, because nobody would want China to be dominant in anything really, because they weaponize things a lot more obviously than any other country has. But at the same time, suppression creates friction, which can create competition in terms and efficiency. So China's some models, even though they are reverse engineered and stolen, they are very efficient with the hardware that they have, because they have to be. So it's a double-edged sword. You could actually make your opponent stronger by suppressing. The act of acting can create things. So just, yeah. All right, where were we? Are templates and drag and drop builders killing true creativity? No. Because somebody that's creative and knows how to position these things to make it look good in the first place is creative themselves. So the only thing that this enables is the speed at which they can create. So again, it democratizes ability and creativity. Because I've spent hours making a website with Python and some boilerplate, and it came out looking like trash. But I've spent seconds to minutes making a page with Elementor or Figma on WordPress look perfect. So yeah, I'm not a snob on that. I don't care how people do it. If it's good, people like it, then you did well. Should UX always prioritize ease of use over aesthetic ambition? Yeah, for the most part. Maybe 80-20 at the least. 100% is, you can't go wrong with 100%, because there are plenty of websites out there that still use a completely white background, regular Arial or whatever font, and look like a 1991 website, and they're making, I want to say billions, but maybe hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And they literally focus on speed and how simple their website is. So fancy caching techniques, to bring images as quickly as possible and have the highest quality as possible. There's like I think the website that holds the record is like some automotive or hardware website that sells bolts. I think they have the quickest paint. Physics and science. Is the simulation hypothesis actually worth taking seriously? I don't remember what the simulation hypothesis is. I believe it's the one with the the popular science one, simulation, is, are we in a simulation? I'm going to say no, because we have no proof of it. And I mean, it's just, Occam's razor. Why we can needlessly add, if you can add one, if we were not the first, then you can add a million simulations, a simulation within a simulation within a simulation, and it's kind of like a never-ending thing. So we have no proof of it, and physics seems to think that it can't be possible. And why? What do I mean by that? Well, we can't make computers that can simulate things fully. We can only abstract certain features of them, of things. Like, what size computer would it take to simulate the Earth and everything in it? That's a tough question to even ask. Like, what is matter? I mean, a true simulation, you would put the particle there. You would physically place the particle there. But we can't do that, so we're metabolically limited. And, having a computer the size of the moon, maybe you can simulate rough, low resolution version of the Earth. And maybe that is what the universe is, actually. Maybe the universe is just, constant simulation where the resolution gets worse and worse and worse with every iteration. Maybe that's part of the expansion. I don't know. But let's see what this is. The simulation hypothesis proposes two main scenarios. The first is that the world is simulated, but humans are real and organic. Is that because of the observer? So this is this the zombie observer thing? The second scenario suggests that humans themselves are simulated, being predetermined constructs of the digital world. Well, I'll tell you what. There's no proof that we live in a simulated world and we ourselves are real. I get where it's coming from, and it's coming from the fact that we have internal arguments with ourselves. We have internal logic, but I don't think that's part of the outside, something outside of the world or the universe. It's still something within the universe. And the reason I say that is because you're still, again, metabolically limited. You can't outthink everything. So obviously there are some boundaries to how you think and your perception of time, thought, and consciousness. So knowing that there are limitations to consciousness, which are in a way resource limitations from ourselves. You don't have the brain power, the brain capacity. You don't have the energy, physical energy, to be able to think yourself into another position on the universe. You're still limited to where you're at. And yeah, so either everything is simulated or where everything is real. That's what I truly think. Should we stop trying to colonize Mars and focus on fixing Earth? Yes. Maybe have a mining colony or something, like Doom. You know, nothing bad can come from that. Because yeah, I don't think humans will never be able to live outside of the Earth comfortably. I mean, we evolved with Earth. Astronauts lose a good portion of their bone mass density, and their blood supply. There's a lot of negative things that come with living outside of the planet that we have not evolved to. I mean, if we expose ourselves to it for 100,000 years, maybe we can evolve to live on Mars. I doubt it, because there's no life on Mars currently that's alive. So we would have to be better than them, and even the microbiome. So I do think we should focus on fixing Earth. I think we should look at other planets as just resources. We don't want to overmine Earth, all the easily accessible minerals and oils and everything. We owe a duty, or we have a duty, to preserve as much as we can while still making money and keeping capitalism chugging along in progress. So yeah, I think we should just mine. If anything, AI and machines should leave Earth and go mine and bring it back to us, and be kind of like that'll be a utilitarian way to use ethical AI. Well, you don't even have to be ethical. Who cares if we mine everything in other planets? Like, we should be trying to extract as much as possible, if anything. Entrepreneurship. Is hustle culture motivational or toxic? I mean, I guess it could be toxic. I feel like it's mostly motivational. Hustle in the way, I mean, I tend to see people that use the word hustle, they're usually doing illegal things, and I don't agree with that. So maybe it could be toxic, but there's nothing wrong with trying to better yourself or better your situation. Should everyone try to build a personal brand, or is that advice overblown? Um, yeah, everybody should be trying to build a personal brand. You are always trying to build a personal brand, just by interacting with other humans. So I think in the future, everyone will have their own website. Pretty much, it'll have your personality spread, maybe some graph rag chart or something, and people will be able to explore you and your personality while you're offline, while you're sleeping. ask it questions, look at charts, look at graphs, things like that. That's what I'm trying to build. Is passive income actually passive or just another hustle? It's kind of a weird question. I mean, passive income can be passive or not passive. It's just another layer of money you're trying to add to things. You know, you do want as much passive income as possible because it can make you money while you're not working, and it's less dependent on your attention. But yeah, it's like you got to build momentum. So you got to layer, especially with online stuff. Like I've realized you got to advertise, with ads on websites. You got to advertise with ads or verbal ads on YouTube. You have to, pitch products from Amazon. You have to add everything while remaining as light, while having a light touch on it, where people don't feel like you're just selling stuff to them all the time. But yeah, you got to layer. You got to layer until it becomes a lot. Crossover questions. Will AI tools democratize filmmaking or just flood the market with mediocre content? There will be a lot of mediocre content, and that's the downside. That's the cost of democratizing creativity, because you're going to have a lot of crap, but you're also going to have a lot of good things. And that duality is going to create more jobs, because people don't have the time to sort through all the bad content. So there has to be advertisement, there has to be ranking systems, there has to be, there has to be networks that showcase or pick and choose certain shows to run on their network. So it's going to be good. Overall, I think it's going to be good. The only downside I see is just the energy issue, environmental impact. And that's about it. But it's not that bad. I think we can find a solution to that. Should creatives learn to code or stay in their lane? I don't know. I mean, you should know the basics of coding, but to code is going to be a dying thing. And what's going to be more important is going to be the ability to describe the perfect thing. How verbose you are. But yeah, if you have the time, just learn the basics, and that could carry you pretty far with AI now. And AI is only going to get better. This is still the infancy stage. It's going to be so good that no human could ever beat it, even in programming. Is a multi-hyphenate entrepreneur model sustainable or just burnout waiting to happen? Multi-hyphenate, what does that mean? Is that when you wear a trillion hats? A person, especially a celebrity with several professions of skill. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it still looked at pretty highly though. Like a Renaissance man, or someone with many skills. You still want that, especially the smaller the company, the smaller the startup, the more talent dense you want the people to be. Because you got to do everything. When you first start, you're the photographer, you're the camera guy, you're the person, you're the actor, presenter, the programmer, you're the bookkeeper, you're everything. So being good at a lot of things, knowing how to use a lot of tools is really, really useful. Can it burn you out? Yes. I think the toughest challenge that people like that encounter is, where is my time most effective? Like I only have 2 hours of highly productive time in my day, 8 hours of somewhat okay time. Where can I, if I'm going to, and this is something I spoke about with creating websites, like I make everything from scratch, but also Photoshop and Premiere. So sometimes I'll make videos, but you can easily spend 4 hours on an intro on Premiere Pro. You can easily spend 30 minutes, an hour on a single image on Photoshop. And if you compound that enough, you're spending way too much time if your business is still at the early stages. If you're at a startup and every move matters, you might want to rethink where you want to invest your time. I would say scaffold quickly. When you're a startup, scaffold quickly, get the gist out there, get the meat of your content out there. So if you're a podcaster, just start making videos. Don't worry about polishing so much until you have the time or you have the capital to invest. Because I mean, it still helps you knowing what's good looking and what isn't, because when you hire somebody, you're going to be able to tell, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. Okay, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. So it's still very important to have this. Yeah, so thanks. That was my first little questionnaire Ask AI segment. I think I'll continue to do these, but I'll see you guys later.